If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option. As Sori says, $125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. $125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and you get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at insori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Buy our merch indeed. A child shall lead them.
To buy our merch. All right.
Hey, we are in the midst of a
Rented reality.
Rented reality.
Check out his Instagram. Next up on the list is Rivers of Nihil, or Nihil.
Nihil.
Circles in the Sky.
Unbelievable band already. So beautiful. Bass coming in thick. Oh, what a freaking song, y'all.
I really enjoyed that.
Jesus.
You know, that song, don't ask me about the lyrics because I wasn't watching them at all. That song, like the way that it went musically, for me, it was making me think about certain things that I choose to usually not think about. But the way that the music was very supportive, it felt like this is a safe place to think about this.
That's a really interesting way to put it, that the music was supportive.
Yeah, and so I thought through a couple things that I've been avoiding thinking through. So that was kind of like an interesting experience because it also felt like, yeah, like supportive. I don't know how else to say that. So I felt like it was a safe place to do some thinking, which was disappointing because it takes me a lot longer to think through something than just however long that was, 3 minutes it felt like. So I would definitely need an album probably of this one. But yeah, really good. I liked the feel of it, and it was really pretty sounding, and I liked what they did, instrumentally, the different places that they went with it. But I'm not really good at like picking apart what each instrument did, but there was some like higher notes. I'm not sure what they were. Maybe it was the guitar. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
But I liked those higher notes that it was hitting up in there a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely a journey.
Yeah, I felt that's such a good. There's a guy. This has nothing to do with anything, but there's a guy who.
Then let's not talk about it. Anyway,
on the Middle America thing, he characterized Putin's invasion as irresponsible, and I had just never heard that.
He said what?
He characterized it as irresponsible.
Oh.
He
Yeah.
basically said no matter what his
Yeah.
justifications were, it was irresponsible. And I'm like,
Yeah.
brilliant way to put it. Like when you said the music was supporting the sounds were supporting the lyrics, I'm like, yeah, dude, that makes a hell of a lot of sense. And it really, really did. It really did support the lyrics. But like this lyric right here, this little segment right here where it says pray to be unmade and absorbed into the light, everybody be as one. Everybody be as one, suffering only in the mind, coalesce into the none. Like it just, and I know I don't know the guy, but it's not. I don't think that he was meant to say it like this, but that to me is a rock show. Like that's what people are looking for when they go into a rock show. Is coalescing into one, suffering only in the mind again, which is kind of goes into the previous song that we just got done covering, actually, which of course is AT. So obviously he's gonna, that's gonna happen. But like that was the line for me, because it's like I feel like this is one of the biggest things that Christian, and it's not a criticism per se. It's just being an insider in both communities. The reason I'm saying this, that Christians don't see that's what folks are going for when they go to a rock show. They're trying to get to a place where their suffering is only in their mind, where you can notice it says everybody be as one.
Yeah.
And they're trying to go to a place where the songs carry with it a certain kind of pain and lived experience that everybody who's singing them knows. And so we're all together as one, and in that hour and a half, however long we're all there, the suffering was only mental, because we're all enjoying each other and we're joining each other's company and all of that. And when people go to worship services, like when Christians say, "Oh, I want worship," like that's what's happening.
It is, but okay. So the sad thing about what you just said was, so obviously I haven't grown up a metal person. I haven't been a metal person at all. Like that's just something that once we started the channel, then all of a sudden I went to my first concert and stuff like that. But I never felt rejected by the metal community, and I'm not sure necessarily that we fit as far as, like you were basically the only black jelly bean at a lot of these places, and I don't think that I necessarily look like the community looks, so neither one of us really necessarily fit. But I never felt like there was only that one concert where I felt like that people were like looking at you like
Was
sideways.
it the Behemoth concert?
I don't remember which one
There
it
was
was.
a Behemoth concert, and then Nergal said, "Oh, I like these guys," and then everybody loved this after.
Yeah, maybe it was that one. I'm not sure, but it wasn't that type of band that where. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So I instantly felt accepted in, like, I felt like everything, like all bars were down when the music starts. The fact that you're there, then we're all in this together. That's all you needed, just the ticket in.
Yeah, that's the ticket.
And so you automatically felt like you were part of the crew, and it felt like the people that were around you, like literally in your vicinity, like all of a sudden there was some like string that went through all of us that kind of connected us as a group. And I think that that's probably something that, so some people I would hear, like, because I've invited so many people to church over my lifetime in the church. And there was some people that when they were there with me were like, I felt like they felt good and clean. That's what they would say. Like, that was kind of like one of the things. Yeah. But people didn't say, like, some people would say, I felt like they would say stuff like, I thought a bolt of lightning was going to strike me, and it didn't. But as far as people saying,
about that.
Yeah,
people used to say all the time.
As far as people saying, like, I instantly felt like I was accepted by everybody in there, and then there was a connection between all of us, like that feeling that you get at a rock show. I think that that's what the goal of the church should be. But I think, okay, so here's a little peek into some of our belief system. Our belief system says that every single person was born a sinner. So everybody's on the same spot. Now, some people are not going to do there's people that you look at and you're like, I would never do that. And the only reason that you can say that is because the divine has given you more of himself to hold you back from that. So then when you look at that horrible thing, you're like, I have no interest in doing that thing. But you don't have all of the divine because you're not divine yourself. So you're going to have something that somebody else would look at and be like, ooh, I would never do that. So we all have something. So, but that's kind of what that both of them should bring us together. The fact that we all have some loss of the divine in us should bring us together, because we should understand each other. But the fact that we all have some of the divine should also bring us together. So, and the fact that we need more of the divine, so then there's less things that we would do to hurt or harm other people, or to fuck up our own selves and stuff is important as well. But I think that a lot of times, a lot of people feel like you have to do good things to kind of outweigh your bad. And so there's a lot of focus. But when you have that sort of system, when you do the good things, you feel good about yourself because you did those things where that person didn't. So it kind of gives people like a leg up over other people. So instead of realizing, yo, we're all nasty, we all need help, you're more like, well, I'm not as bad because I did and so that ends up making that separation. And I think that maybe that's kind of what people feel when they say, oh, the church is so judgmental or the church is so hypocritical. I think it's a fault and it's a flaw on our part where we're not just recognizing, okay, we needed more of the divine. Maybe they need more of the divine. And how can we all work together in this? And so I think that is like the goal of, like, I'm in this journey in the back of my head. Like, obviously, we all have like a bunch of things that we're thinking about. One of the things that I think about is, what would make the perfect church? So one of the things that I've come up with is that in the back of the church, there's like a big playground area with picnic tables and stuff like that, where it's basically set up as like a spot for moms to take their kids, and the kids can run around and play, and the moms have a spot to sit and talk, and it kind of like takes some of the pressure. Maybe they sell peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for very cheap, so moms don't even have to pack the lunches. Stuff like that. So different things like that. But maybe, one of the things is having that sort of goal or ethos that any person that comes in, like, that's the goal. Like, like you really made it when people, when they come in, instead of them being like, well, I felt really clean while I was here, that the goal would instead be like, I felt strangely a part of this crew of people that I don't look anything like and I've never even been around. Yeah. So I think that would be like a really cool, but I don't know.
I mean, he says, no, you're right. Pray to be unmade and absorbed into the light. Everybody be as one, suffering only in the mind, coalescing to the none. And there's trillions of ways to interpret that, but AT said something really fascinating.
original sin might be true if sin is missing the point that we already have eternal life, which is a very challenging statement.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, Adam and Eve already had eternal life. And they already had knowledge. So sin is grasping for something that God wants to freely give you. Because, whatever. And so, yeah, we already have with God and with each other literally everything we need. But we're deceived into thinking that we don't have what we need. So we go to war, we kill each other, we do all types of shit. And I'm like freaking out a little bit because AT, like, that's such a wise statement. And
Very
then when
interesting.
I, like, put that through a biblical filter, there's so many times where, like James says, you kill and covet because you do not get what you want. But why don't you want it? And you do not have because you do not ask. And when you ask, you don't receive because you ask according to your pleasures, blah, 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 blah. It's like, you already have it.
Yeah.
But because we're so selfish and fearful, that's why, like, a hoarding person, a person who's a hoarder, of course they're selfish, but there's also people talk about the myth of scarcity, meaning, well, I'm not going to have it, so if I give something away, I'm not going to have enough, so I have to hoard things for myself. It's like, no, if we all gave, then everybody would have everything we all need. Like, all of us could be millionaires. You know what I'm saying? And so it's really fascinating because he says pray to be unmade, and it's like, what part of your essence needs to be unmade and then absorbed into the light? Like, I'm not saying it, it's right there. There is something in our humanity that needs to be unmade and then absorbed in. There's a part of us that needs to be unmade, and then there's a part of us that needs to be absorbed into the light. And it says pray to be unmade. I agree, because if you worshipped only the real, would you change how you feel? Do you believe you're truly at one, or would you bargain for another day beneath the sun? Do you regret? Do you feel? Do you own what you've done? That line is insane. I saw those circles shrinking, missing the fear that once drove them to separate us from what we are, and the traces fade. We are not corporeal. Corporeal means physical. And I would disagree with that, but I could still agree with it in the sense that, like our Hindu friends say, you are not your body. And it's so fascinating to me, like, because we're listening to this fat phobia stuff, and you're listening to these people say, I have a fat body, so those of us that have marginalized bodies, and don't tell me what to do with my body. Like, we are making a distinction between ourself and our body when we say that. But if materialism is true, then there should be no distinction between the self and the body. But there is, because we all know there's a distinction, that the material is not the only thing that there is. Right. And so, he's getting it. He's saying, I'm not corporeal. I would just add a just. We're not just corporeal. But the true... Here's the thing about our body. Like, this body can be, like, completely destroyed. God's like, that's cool. I'll just resurrect it. But, like, your soul, your inner being, your inner person, the inner world, that's not something where you could just say, oh, yeah, we'll just make an upgrade. Because that's the kernel and essence of who and what we all are. And so... I just think that is really, really fascinating. And he says, if you worshipped only the real, like, those are real significant questions. Like, what if, what if, for example, all this Christianity shit was true, and you decided to yourself, I'm only going to worship the truth and interface with ultimate reality. Would you actually do it? And would you own what you've done to this being? I think it's a very, very fascinating question. Lyrically, it was insane. Sonically, it was insane.
I like that part too. And I saw those circles shrinking, missing the fear that once drove them to separate us from what we are. And I thought of, like, you drop something in the water and then the ripples kind of bring you farther and farther apart. And he's talking about fear being what drove to separate us. And but seeing those circles shrinking. So it was like the opposite of when you drop it. So everything's coming back together. And obviously in the Bible, it talks about that the opposite of love you would think would be hate, but it's not. It says that it's fear. And then when you stop and think about it and you think, okay, why, when people start justifying, kids in cages or closing the border so nobody can come in, it really comes down to fear in a lot of different situations. The reason that we're so cold 100%. And we're so hard with other people is because in the end of the day, we're scared of something.
Yeah.
So,
or apathy, as AT said. Yeah.
Yeah.
And apathy, really, a lot of times people are apathetic because they're afraid that they can't do the right thing.
Fear.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Like, people are afraid because they'll tell me all the time. They're like, Vin, if I really felt all the pain and the problems in the world, I'd never get out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes apathy becomes a defense mechanism to protect us against the fear of our shortcomings to change the injustice in the world. And a lot of times you look at a person who's apathetic, it's like I do this all the time because I'm a very passionate, I feel everything. I'm like, you fucking apathetic person. And in reality, it's like, no, they're feeling, but they're afraid that they can't change it. Whereas I believe we can change everything. So I feel everything. I feel, you know, the Russian sanctions. I feel Ukrainian moms. I feel Afghani kids. I feel Yemeni kids. I feel all of it because I know that feeling is going to drive me to prayer and action, and I truly, truly believe that that's going to change something. But if you don't believe that,
Yeah.
then feeling all the emotions about
It's
all
too
the
much.
suffering in
It's
the world
just
is
too
actually
much.
horrible,
Yeah.
and apathy will probably keep you from jumping off a freaking bridge.
Yeah.
I'll talk forever about this song, and we need to go to the next one. This is a 9.7 for me.
9.2.
They are, dear listener, freaking great song, great subject matter. We shall return. Turn. Vin out.
Sorry out.
Gone.